Setka moved.
Good afternoon, delegates, brothers and sisters. Look, I move the motion. It's in relation to not only law firms, but I mean, some of you might get a bit shocked when I tell you some of the information that we have. It came to our attention in Victoria before the election that Labor governments were using anti-union, anti-worker law firms to do a lot of the work in relation to infrastructure work and a whole heap of other government contracts. One of them was Freehills, Clayton Utz and a whole heap of other people, who most of you in this room have probably been sued by. So we just found it a bit insulting to find that a Labor government that we helped get elected was going to use, or was using, these companies and putting tens of millions of dollars into their pockets. We just thought it was a bit of a disgrace. For example, when you see a Liberal government get in power, you don't actually see them using, Morrie Bees or Hall and Payne. You'll never see that happen. So why should a Labor government use anti-worker, anti-union law firms? So I think it's a bit of a disgrace, to be quite honest. And I commend the Andrews government on their policy. Their policy before the last election, the landslide victory, was that they would blacklist anti-worker, anti-union law firms, entities and organisations, which I think is fantastic. Now, let me tell you, I mean, we've had a bit of a sad history. During the last federal Labor government, unfortunately, the Fair Work Act, or the Unfair Work Act, as we call it, was, Freehills were one of the mobs that the Labor Party used to help write that. So if you're having trouble getting onto workplaces and using some of the mechanisms of that act, you'll know why, considering Freehills was one of the anti-union law firms, along with others, that helped write that act. And I think it's an absolute disgrace. We have a chance to change that. And I don't think that should ever happen again. I mean, you're never going to see Freehills people or Clayton Utz handing out how-to-vote cards or donating money to the ALP. So, I mean, I think it's a very simple resolution. I think federally, I think Labor has a chance to redeem a lot of their mistakes from the past, and I think we're on the right track to doing that. So I would like to see this get up federally with Labor, and that's their policy, that any anti-worker, anti-union law firms, entities, individuals do not get any government contracts. Thank you very much.
Seconded, Thomas Costa. Thanks, John.
Delegates, before I was elected as a union official, I worked for 10 years as a solicitor, as an industrial officer and as a community lawyer for unions and their members. And consistently over that time, I came up against usual suspects of major law firms for the big end of town. Law firms like Freehills that wrote the Work Choices Act, law firms like Ashurst that represented Horizon in the termination of 12 enterprise agreements, pushing over 1,000 workers onto award wages and conditions. These firms have become the hit squad of the federal government, of the Liberal coalition federal government. They are attacking unions. They have no place when Labor is elected. They should not be funded by a Labor government to do any legal work or otherwise. Delegates, I commend the resolution to the floor.
Thanks, Thomas. I'll put the amendment. Those in favour? Carried. So we'll move back and move the chapter now.